Okay.
Right, sorry that. Backwards with the names there.
No worries. So I'm Peter Losher. I'm with the Internet Systems Consortium. You probably know us as the Bind people. But I'm here to talk about IPv6. We have been running IPv6 for some time, and this is just a little clarion call to let you guys know that what we're doing and in some of the places where we're focused on and how IPv6 is being supported. Here. First, a little bit about our operational experience. We've been running dual stack at the core with our routers since 2002 with 6 phone addresses. We have since obviously gotten proper space from Aaron. All of our major services, web, FTP, email, bar 1 have been v6 enabled since 2003. The bar 1, if anybody knows how to get modula 3 to speak IPv6, let me know. Froot has had a unofficial / official IPv6 address, and at least 1/3 of our Froot mirror nodes around the world are IPv6 enabled. Basically, when we go into a new node, we find out if they have a v6 peering fabric. If they do, we go ahead and enable v6 on that node. Currently, right now, we're about 1/3. We've got a couple of nodes that are about to, where the IXs are about to turn up v6, either on an experimental basis or on a production basis. And so we'll go ahead and add the announcement of the v6 address then. The one bit of that I've learned in doing this is avoid EUI64. The number of times I've stuck IPv6, let it auto-configure the address, then the NIC goes bad, and all of a sudden, oh geez, why is it taking forever to log on? And then find out, oh crap, the MAC address changed, which meant the EUI64 address changed, and nobody ever remembered to update the Quad A record. Darn. So the big thing right at the moment for us, or from the operational side, has been IPv6 enabled root servers. Currently, we have 5 of the 13 root servers have Quad A addresses. They are listed on the www.root-servers.org website, although there's no glue as of yet. But on the root, if you look at the root.zone file, you'll notice that there are already glue records in place for several of the CCTLDs and GTLDs, including the ones listed on my slide. Due to the special role that the root servers have, perceived or reality, there has been many concerns expressed about just recklessly just adding v6 glue records. Basically, a lot of it stems from sending EDNS0 queries, sending responses bigger than 512K or 512 bytes, and so forth. So there have been several studies commissioned to make sure that there are no serious side effects before just turning this on. And the committees listed on the slides there, they spent about 6 months looking at this and presented the results to IANA earlier this year, that basically there were no concerns, or no major concerns at least. Currently right now the ball is in IANA's court. No ETA of a final decision as of yet, but we think that the light is at the end of the tunnel and hopefully it'll come and hit us soon. On the software side, our little flagship product, as well as most current versions of the DNS software out there, the Nomnoms, the Power DNSs of the world, already have some form of IPv6 already enabled. Either they have support for Quad A records, or they do v6 transport. In the case of bind, all of our major transport options have v4 and v6 options, and this has been the case for at least for some time. And in regards to DHCP software, there are several products out there, including our own, which is in alpha right at the moment, which supports DHCP v6. Ironically, it will be called DHCP v4. So that's just the way the version numbering went. It was not intended. But in any case, there was an interoperability bake-off held at RIPE the week before the IATF meeting in Prague, and where they found, while there were some little nagging issues, they all basically interoperated. They all interoperated between each other. We were asked not to reveal who actually participated in the bake-off, so that's why they're not listed here. So, but there's a link to the report on the IATF website about the results. So, in conclusion, while the IPv4 Grim Reaper isn't in our collective doorstep yet, there's just that small little speck far out in the distance, and it's heading this way. Maybe not very fast at the moment, but by the look of the Aaron statement, it's heading this way. We do advocate that you at least try IPv6 on your own network in a small-scale test. I mean, I'm not sitting here advocating that YouTube turn up IPv6 anytime soon, but at least test it, check it, or see what items and products that perhaps don't have v6 capabilities. We're from mainly a hosting environment in this case, so most of our tools are pretty much geared toward IPv4 and IPv6. But I'm not from a telco environment or something like that where it may be slightly more specialized. Basically, better be ready now and know what's coming rather than 2-3 years down the line when Aaron or one of the RIRs say no more v4. Don't use EUI64 addressing or autoconf unless you really know what you're doing. In the meantime, well, I'm always looking for more peers. So, in any case, and that's basically it.
Tony?
I'm surprised, recognizing you're smiling, I'm surprised you didn't flip that over and say, use dynamic DNS. Given that you're from ISC, one would think that use dynamic DNS is actually a good thing to say.
It is, but part of it is just from our aspect. We don't have a large enough installation, at least right now, to justify using dynamic DNS. So it's a little bit more of an overhead for us internally. But yeah, otherwise, yes, please use dynamic DNS. But for our use internally, at least at the moment, it's not really worth it.
David?
Davidson, University of Washington. So in your view, EUI64 is mutually exclusive with static addresses as opposed to deploying both? Or turning EUI64 on and then applying statics where you absolutely have to have a server service?
Yeah, for where we have a server service, we do static. And basically you can do either what we do right now, because we're a relatively small entity, we basically put the prefix and then the last v4 octet. I've seen other entities do where they embed the VLAN information and the switch port information into it. You can come up with your own addressing scheme. Basically right now we just stick static v6 addresses on our servers and just let it be like that, because then that way it's stable, at least from our perspective.
Yeah. So what I've seen done is implement EUI64 and then apply a static address on the systems that are running services.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Potential.
Yeah. Joel Yeagley?
Hold up, Joel, over there.
Oh, sorry.
Mark Hoster's VeriSign. I like, Peter, if you go back to that one slide, you talked about IANA putting quad A's in the root. That's kind of a little bit rosy because the testing wasn't entirely comprehensive, and there's tons of middle boxes out there that intercept DNS traffic, and we have no idea what's going to happen to those. So there is some concern there. Not huge concern, but there is some concern.
Yeah, and that's basically, as I said, the ball's now in their court, and there is still a lot of sensitivity about it. So this has been a long process, at least 2-3 years going.
It needs to be, actually needs to be advertised a bit more to a larger community, because it's pretty small right now in dealing with that.
Yeah.
All right, Joel, before you go, is the next speaker in the room? Mr. Godfrey? Oh, there you are. Outstanding. You can come on up. And Joel, go ahead.
Yeah, two observations. One, if you deploy v6 mail servers at this point, like there are a lot of people who don't know it, but they are looking for your v6 PTR records as well. So you do need to do reverse, and so that really does, incentivize you to either do dynamic DNS or statically configure your actual servers. Now, what you do with your clients is obviously your business. But the other observation I would make on this is that you probably have experienced the same thing, but there was a lot of commentary on the list in the last couple of weeks that there are no tools for managing your IPv6 deployment. And as somebody who's worked on v6 deployments for about 10 years now, I was unaware that there were no tools. And the tools that most of us use, which were developed by people like ISC and other people in the community, things like Nagios, actually do by and large support IPv6. So they are available for use for experimentation and deployment. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Got it right that time.